Just have a little wriggle about. Just feel that you've found that levelness at the seat bones. Hold onto your knees and then lift up into your chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Spend a few moments just listening to the sound of the breath. Just drawing your focus inwards. Just drawing your focus into the sound of the breath. Release your knees, bring your hands into Namaste. Open up the armpit region by drawing the armpits into the elbows. Drawing the elbows into the heels of the hands into the fingertips. Soften your jaw, soften your tongue, soften your throat. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And then very gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then just gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees. And as you open your eyes, raise your head. So push the backs of your hands down onto your knees and feel that you can really elevate the front chest upwards, drawing the back chest down. So there's this feeling of lift of the front chest, and then this feeling of drawing down of the back chest. Feeling like the front chest expands while the back chest almost contracts. So you're lifting up into the front chest, drawing the skin over the shoulder blades, the trapezius muscle downwards. And then turn to the right side, keeping the front chest lifted, using the back hand to dig into the floor to maintain that lift of the front chest, drawing the back chest down. Using your out breath to turn the spine a little more deeply. And then come back to the center. Hold on to your knees this time. Again, elevating the front chest upwards, drawing the back chest downwards. So it's that trapezius muscle. Draw it down your back. Lift up the chest, up with the front chest. Take a deep inhalation. And then with the subsequent exhalation, turn to the left. Drawing your abdomen across, your ribs and your shoulders. Just listening to the sound of the breath, using your out breath to intensify the turn. And then come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees, lift the front chest, drawing the back chest down. So that action of drawing the muscle and the skin of the back chest downwards helps you to draw your shoulders away from your ears. So try and draw that skin of the back chest down the back. And then come off the lift. Sit back on your heels for a moment and just spend a moment just to, again, first of all, activate the shins, pressing the shins into the floor, activating the thighs, and then lifting the front chest. So this feeling of elevation here, resulting in a drawing down of the back chest. So it's like a waterfall flowing upwards, obviously defying gravity, up to the shoulders, and then flowing down the back like a waterfall. So try and maintain that lift of the front chest, that descending back chest, and then come forwards, hinging at the hips. Maybe the hips feel different when you really place your focus on that ascending front, descending back. Just coming forwards, keeping the head lifted, just finding that space, ascending front, descending back chest, and then bring the forehead down. Maintaining that sensation of ascension of the front chest, descending of the back chest. It's not quite so easy when you're down like this, but try and feel that the skin of the back chest around the shoulder blade region is drawing downwards. So the back chest is drawing down to the lumbar, to the tailbone. The tailbone is drawing down into the heels. Those subtle actions just help to open up the armpits. Spread your palms deeply. Press the finger knuckles, especially the index finger knuckle, into the floor. Keep that back chest descending. Come up onto your knees. See if you can maintain that feeling of length in the arms. Turn your toes under, and then with bent knees initially, come up into dog down. Again, feeling that you can ascend the front chest and descend the back chest. It's not quite so easy in these poses as it was when we were sitting, but try and just feel that that activation is taking place. Straighten the legs, turn the legs inwards, Just activate the legs, turning them in so that the heels start to separate. Breathe in deeply, in through the nose and out through the nose. Keep your hands where they are, keep your feet where they are, swing the hips forwards, come up into dog, up. Again, ascending that front chest, descending the back chest, pushing deeply into the heels, broadening the diaphragm, broadening the collarbone, drawing the crease of the elbows to face the front. And then come back up into dog down. Deep inhalations, deep exhalations. Okay, and then step your feet forwards, come up into standing position. Just have your feet as wide apart as the mat, turning your toes in so that the outside edge of your feet line up with the edge of the mat. Do half uttanasana, just coming forwards onto the back of a chair if you've got a bad back. Otherwise, raise your arms up. Have your arms wide to start off with. Lift up into the chest, driving the chest up towards the ceiling. Then hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows, hinge at the hips, and then hang down. But it doesn't mean that we make the chest just completely idle. Encourage that front chest to ascend from the abdomen to the collarbone. Encourage that back chest to descend. It's harder when we're like this, but see if you can just get those feelings of lift of the front chest, drop of the back chest. So it's like a conveyor belt around the front of the body, around the back of the body, and that kind of connection between the two. Just activating the legs, keeping the insteps lifting by drawing the inner knees upwards towards the front groin, turning the inner knees in towards the back of the room. Okay, and then release your hands down to the floor. Bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to. And then come into Tadasana. Just be in Tadasana, big toes together, heels apart. And then just let the chest drop. So if I stand sideways, when I let my chest drop, look what happens in the shoulder blades. So the shoulder blades kind of stick out and then we drop here. And this is kind of the posture of a teenager, isn't it? This has that kind of don't look at me kind of posture. This is kind of a victim posture. So you've got to learn to lift from the abdomen up into the ribs, up into the chest. So we go from this into this where the shoulder blades draw in, and then drawing down the back. So if you imagine a conveyor belt is just like a single piece of material that kind of just rotates, and so it's upwards around the front, downwards down the back, but then it turns in. So the tailbone turns in, and that tailbone turning in becomes the lift of the front chest. So the top of the conveyor belt, the shoulders, the bottom of the conveyor belt is at the tailbone region. So just feel there's that ascending chest, descending back, but they're connected to each other. Because if you do the opposite, if you ascend the back and descend the chest, then we basically get a hunchback. So we want to use that ascension of the chest, descending back, to really open our chest, to give us space to breathe. Because of course, if we don't have space to breathe, just do the hunchback version and then try and take deep breaths. It's actually really, really hard to take deep breaths. And when you can't take deep breaths, your brain becomes starved of oxygen, and it's really hard to kind of do anything energetic because there's no energy. So it's really hard to breathe, isn't it? So then do the opposite. Turn the conveyor belt in the opposite direction, lifting up into the front chest. And now breathe into the four corners of the lungs. So keep that shoulders connected and the tailbone connected. The tailbone turns in and becomes the ascension of the front chest. Just breathe evenly, just maintaining that conveyor belt action of the upper body. Lengthening the neck up to the ceiling. So we're going to try and maintain this conveyor belt chest. Let's call it the conveyor belt torso in some of our standing poses. Just bring your arms out nice and wide and conveyor belt the torso. Turn the palms up to face the ceiling and then bring the arms together. Try and keep them straight. I have to bend my elbows because I've run out of ceiling height. Have the palms facing each other, ascending the front chest, descending the back chest. So you might also notice that it brings the shoulders away from your ears. It's that ascension of the front chest, descending back chest, turning the tailbone in, turning that into the lift of the front chest. So we can go into utkatasana. Keep the knees, clamp the knees together, and then keep that conveyor belt torso as you come down. Bending the knees, really working to ascend the front chest, descend the back chest, tucking the tailbone in and letting that be the originator of the up action of the chest. Breathe evenly. And then straighten your legs and then come back into Tadasana. So often in utkatasana, what happens is that when we come down, we hunch the shoulders into the ears, and everything feels like it drops because of that. So in this, using this conveyor belt action, the shoulders are further away from the ears, and perhaps you feel like there's better elevation. Just breathe evenly. Stretch your arms up, conveyor belt the torso, Clamp the knees together, really lifting the front chest, descending the back chest, turning the tailbone in, come down and find the low chair. Keep descending the back chest, ascending the front chest. And then straighten the legs. And then bring the breath back to a normal level. So utkatasana probably makes you feel a little warmer afterwards. Maybe you didn't breathe as deeply as you could. So just use your conveyor belt tadasana to just settle your breath. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and then step or jump your feet nice and wide. Turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out. Turning these legs outwards so that you can lift the instep like we were doing this week, and then lift up and then descend the back chest, conveyor belting, and then maintaining that action as you come down. So the shoulders come away from the ears. The more you lift your chest, the more your alignment will be better. Just look down as your head over your foot. If it's not, then conveyor belt the chest a bit more. Really activating that back leg, keeping the kneecap of that back leg really firm. Pushing that back leg towards the wall behind you. Just giving you grounding and ballast for that rising action of the chest, descending action of the back. Reach up, come back to the center, turn your left toes in, so your right toes in, your left leg and foot all the way out. Just return to that conveyor belt chest, and then come over and find the leg. Maybe you find when you're really working the torso with focus like this that you don't come down so low, or maybe you find it easier to maintain. But it certainly feels like it adjusts the alignment. It helps tuck the tailbone in. It keeps the shoulders away from the ears. It keeps the head above the foot. Turn the chest to face the ceiling and look up, maintaining that action of the chest. Just observing where you're working and where you're not. And then reach up, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump the feet back together. And then come back into Tadasana. So just resetting, conveyor belt torso. Just breathing evenly and deeply. Okay, just release for a second, have a couple of blocks for your on the right side of your mat. Have them wide enough apart so you're not going to jump on them. And then come into Tadasana. So you do parsvottanasana. So just lift up into the chest, conveyor belt in the torso. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump the feet apart. Turning your left toes in steeply, and then the right leg and foot all the way out. It often helps to pick up that back heel and turn it out even more steeply, so that you can then bring the hips level. And then go back to that conveyor belt torso, lifting right from the rim of the pelvis up into the chest, down into the back, lengthening down into the tailbone region, and then letting that tailbone region be the origination of the upward action of the chest. And then maintaining that action, coming forward slowly, really focusing on maintaining the action of the chest, and then reach down, find the blocks. So at this stage, you can be on fingertips with the blocks and just reset that back leg a little. Just feel that the hips can come level. So lengthen from the hip from the heel into the hip of that front leg. Turn the back leg from the thigh, the front of the thigh, turn it in so that the back of the thigh rotates outwards. So it's lots of circular actions, isn't it? So from the foot to the hip, from the hip to the foot in the front leg, rotate it, the same action with that back leg, but rotate it, the front of the thigh in so that the back of the thigh broadens out. Lifting the chest, descending the back chest if you can, and down any lower, while maintaining that action of the spine, while maintaining those circularity actions of the legs, the chest, with the torso. If you can reach the floor, then do. Maintaining that action of the spine. If you lose the action of the spine, then just focus on the lift of the front chest, the descending action of the back chest. If you can, start to walk your hands back, but keep that front leg straight, Andrew. Keep that front leg straight. Lift your toes if you struggle to straighten that leg. Extending the front chest forwards, back chest down. Just walking your hands towards the back leg. Keeping that ascending front chest. Keeping that conveyor belt action. So that the body starts to come down along the front leg. But keep the front chest lifted, keep the head lifted. Don't try and drop the head just to find the leg. Keep the conveyor belt chest, keeping the head lifted. Okay, and then just bring the hands back to that front foot, bend the front leg, and then step in with the back foot, and then just come up into a standing position. Put the blocks onto the other side, and then come into Tadasana. So some fairly intense work, but the really important thing with this pose is keeping that front leg straight, keeping the back leg straight. So just like we're conveyor belting the chest, you have to conveyor belt that front leg. Bring your arms out nice and wide into the chest, and then step or jump the feet apart, and then turn the right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out, and then just turn that back foot all the way out. So feel that you're lifting from the hip, from the big toe into the heel, into the ankle, into the front of the leg, up into the hip, and then from the hip down into the back of the thigh, to the back of the knee, into the calf, into the toe, and then there's that circulation, that circular action there. This back leg, turn that front thigh inwards, as well as that same action of the back leg, but turn that front leg in so that the back leg rotates out, so there's that circularity there. Have your hands on your hips, lift up into the chest, descend in the back chest, down into the tailbone, lifting up into the chest. And then just come forwards, keeping the chest lifted, keeping the legs really firmly activated, and then reach down and find the blocks beyond fingertips. Use this moment as an opportunity to just reset the legs so that the hips are level, and then reset that action of the torso. So especially with the tailbone. Just come down. If you can come down to the floor, then do. But just working with your own limitations. Keeping that front leg straight, so tighten the kneecap of that front leg, Andrew. Lift from the big toe up into the shin, into the kneecap, up into the hip. Draw that front leg hip back. Draw that front leg hip back. That's it, and then the leg starts to straighten. And then really working with the lift and the descending with the torso. And then just a little bit at a time, come walk your hands towards the back leg. So working with consciousness. So maybe it feels different on this side, so spend some time just to decipher that feeling. But keep the head lifted. We're not trying to drop the head, because again, if you drop the head, look what happens in my shoulders. Please just push out. The shoulder blades round if you drop your head too soon. So bring the chest onto the leg. Okay, and then walk the hands forwards towards that front foot, bend that front leg, step in, come back into the standing position, bending the knees on the way up if you need to, and then come back up into Tadasana, lifting the chest, descending the back chest, down into the tailbone, drawing the tailbone in, lifting up the front chest from the tailbone. And then just bring your feet hip width apart, turn the toes in, raise your arms, reach up into the chest, hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows, and then just hinge at the hips, maintaining that conveyor belt torso as you come down. Just the more you activate your legs, the more you activate the thighs, the more you can activate the chest, the more you can bring into action that conveyor belt torso. And then release your hands down to the floor, and then walk your hands away from your feet, and then just come into dog down. But again, with consciousness of ascending the chest, descending the back chest. So we often spend a long time sticking the tailbone up towards the ceiling, and that's a useful action to draw your shoulder blades in towards your spine. If you can just soften that slightly, keeping the descending action driving down the back into the tailbone, and then just softening off the tailbone slightly, then torso feels like it's a separate entity to the legs. And the ascending of the chest feels more achievable. Obviously, you will keep working your legs as you would normally. But just that softening action of the tailbone, still lifting it up towards the ceiling, but with a little gentleness. Just let your head hang down. Okay, come down onto your knees. Just sit back on your heels. Just lift up into the chest. And just feel the energy that has filled up your upper body. That lightness of energy. Bring in a feeling of weightlessness into the upper body. Activating that conveyor belt chest, and then come forwards into Adho Mukha virasana. So keeping the head lifted as you come forwards. Keeping the back chest descending, and then bring the forehead down. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, and then sit back on your heels. And then come into just a cross-legged position. Hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest. Conveyor belt in the torso. So connecting the shoulders to the bottom of the back. Connecting the bottom of the back into the pelvis, into the abdomen, into the collarbone, into the shoulders, down into the trapezius muscle, down the back into the tailbone into the pelvis. And that circular action of energy. So when there's a circular action of energy, you maintain your energy, you hold on to your energy. You're not just not just kind of shooting it out the ends of your fingers. You're feeling that energy and you're almost recycling it within the physical body. So you're holding on to your energy. Just very gently turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across your ribs, across your shoulders, maintaining that feeling of lightness in the upper body through the conveyor belt action of the torso. Come back to the center. Just hold on to your knees, lift up into the chest, conveyor belt in the spine. So it really feels like the spine becomes, the torso becomes independent of the legs. And then turn to the left. It's that sacrum spine into tailbone, into pelvis, into abdomen, diaphragm, collarbone. That really helps to bring energy into the chest. And then gently come back to the center. Just come down onto your back, just into supta baddha. Come down into supta baddha. Just feel the length of the spine. Use blocks underneath your thighs if you need to. Just feel that the spine elongates along the mat. Resting your hands on your lower ribs. Just spend a little time in breath. Maybe you can feel that natural propensity to want to in some way maintain that independence that comes from just observing the top and the bottom of the spine. Okay, draw your knees towards each other. Just pull your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock. Just ironing out any tension in your back. And then just make sure you're in a really good straight line right down the center of your mat. And then rest your head down. If your head feels like it's rolling back a little, then put a blanket underneath your head. Otherwise, just resting down into the floor. So letting go of the muscles of the arms and the legs and the torso. Just surrendering into the floor. And through that action of surrender, perhaps you observe that lightness comes to the limbs, radiating out from the bones into the muscle, into the flesh and into the skin. Basking in that glow of physical lightness, Using the in-breath and the out-breath to distribute it evenly down into the toes, into the fingers, into the top of the head. Basking in the energetic warmth that we have created through our practice. And then very gently wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then just gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into the seated position. Just intercross legs with the hands in Namaste, just a final spinal lift, feeling the lightness of your energy, drawing your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then radiate some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel a real genuine lightness of energy, especially in the upper body. Thanks, Ruth.
I've got to go. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye, everyone.